What's going on, guys? So what I want to do here is actually take a minute and use my cheesy whiteboard to describe with you a brand new project that was just announced that I'm extremely excited to be collaborating on. And this project is called the Case for a Secret Space Program. And it was announced last weekend at the Contact in the Desert conference. And this project is going to be released at the MUFON Symposium in Las Vegas in July. And what this is that it's a book. It's the first book in a series of books that are going to in-depth explain this right here, the secret space programs, and really build a case for it, the case for a secret space program, in how different corporate contractors have obtained science, kept a lot of very advanced science secret, and actually built this technology out behind the scenes. So it's going to be a very intense, very deep, profound book. And it's a collaboration between these four gentlemen: Dr. Rob Wood, Dr. Michael Salla, Bill Tompkins, and Corey Goode. Linda Moulton Howe might also get in a little bit on this project, and then I'm here to really help just compile all this research together and tell a bunch of people about it. So I'm telling you about it right here. And I'm going to go through each one of these individuals and kind of familiarize you with them if you don't know who they are. And then I'll discuss with you a little bit more about what we'll be getting into in this book. And first and foremost, we have Dr. Rob Wood on this project. And he is an awesome guy. He's been in the UFO realm for years and years, for decades. And he is a very brilliant mind. He graduated with a degree in aeronautical engineering from the University of Colorado, and then he actually, at the same time, got a PhD in physics from Cornell. So this dude is smart. And he then went, after he graduated, went into working at Douglas Aerospace Company, and he worked at Douglas Aerospace from 1950 to 1993. So he had 43 years at one company, which is a very rare thing these days. And while he was at Douglas, he became very interested in the UFO phenomenon. And then, kind of by happenstance one day, he was making a joke to essentially his boss's boss about, why don't we study how UFOs work? And then the VP of Douglas was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. So Dr. Bob Wood was then gifted essentially a $500,000 contract. And this was in like $1970. So this was quite a big sum of money to study UFOs for a major aerospace company, which is a very rare thing. Now, unfortunately, due to the compartmentalization and the secrecy around all of these different projects and essentially the secret space program, he really wasn't allowed to, he didn't find out too much about the UFO subject at the time in 1970. And now in hindsight, he sees why. And, after this, he's researched much further into the subject and found a whole lot more out, which is fantastic because he's going to bring a lot of that experience and that understanding to this project. So it's very good to have him here. And during his time researching the UFO issue, he also became essentially a document authentication expert. So many people began going to Dr. Bob to authenticate various UFO documents that they had. So he became very proficient at doing such. So again, it's going to be very great at having that expertise in on this project. And then he's also testified for the Dr. Stephen Greer, the Disclosure Project, and at the Citizens Hearing for Disclosure in Washington, D.C. in 2013. So great mind to have here. And then we have Dr. Michael Salla. Dr. Michael Salla is the founder of exopolitics.org, and he has done many, many different conferences around the world. He's organized and both participated in them. And then he's also a very prolific author. If you go to his exopolitics.org website, you can skim his articles, and they are fantastic journalistic articles where he compiles great research and is very good at tying everything in together. And then he's also authored a few books, and his most recent two books are some of his best ones. In 2015, he released a book called Insiders Reveal Secret Space Programs and ET Alliances. And then in 2017, his most recent book, he just came out a couple months ago. It was entitled The U.S. Navy's Secret Space Program and Nordic Extraterrestrial Alliances. So what's really funny about those two books is that they were actually written about Bill Tompkins and Corey Goode. So Dr. Michael Salla knows this subject very well. He's very versed on it. So it's also going to be fantastic having him on the project. So we have two very good writers in Dr. Bob Wood and Dr. Michael Salla. And then we have the testimony. These are the whistleblowers that are in on the project that we're getting their testimony from. And that is Bill Tompkins and Corey Goode. Bill Tompkins, he is 94 years old, and he is basically grandfather disclosure here, but he originally worked in naval intelligence. So right at the time of World War II, he was working in Navy intel, and his job was to actually debrief the spies that the Navy had embedded in the German aerospace companies. So this is more history, and a lot of stuff we'll be getting into in this book. But what Bill Tompkins essentially did is that he debriefed these spies, and he learned some very big secrets about what the Germans were doing in their secret space program. So he took this science and this knowledge that he was gaining, and then he was actually delegating it to different compartments in the Navy and various aerospace contractors to handle this science. Now, after his time in the Navy, he also went to work at Douglas Aerospace. So that's a point we're going to make in this book, is it's very interesting that we have two gentlemen that worked at the same company at the same time with zero knowledge of each other. So this is how we will describe in depth how the compartmentalization works to keep all of this stuff secret. It's a very important point there. And then he became a spacecraft designer. So Bill Tompkins actually made very primitive designs of large spacecraft carriers and frigates for the Navy. And this was in the 1950s. Now these designs were likely eventually built out in the 70s and 80s to then create what's called the Solar Warden faction of the secret space program. And that's where Corey Goode enters the picture, because Corey Goode has come out in recent years to offer his testimony about how he allegedly participated in this Solar Warden faction of the secret space program. And he is a MILAB, which stands for military abduction. So essentially what happened to Corey Goode is that he was brought into the SSP, or the secret space program, black projects to participate in them under abduction training. And then he now, within the last couple of years, he's regaining a lot of the memories that he's had from working in these projects. And it's a very rare thing, because they always wipe the memory of most people that participate in them. But now he's one of the ones where that memory wiping is failing with, and he's being able to regain a lot of his memories. And he's remembering actually serving on a research vessel in Solar Warden. So we have essentially two guys who worked at the same company at the same time with zero knowledge of each other, and then two people where one could have very well been serving on the spacecraft that one of them designed. So there's a lot of different dots that we're going to be connecting in this book here. We're going to be discussing the LA air raid of 1942. We're going to be discussing the German origins of a secret space program, how they obtained a lot of the secretive science. We'll be discussing Operation High Jump, Operation Paperclip, Antarctica. We'll be discussing the compartmentalization and the bifurcation of secret space program projects, even within our own military, how the Air Force kind of went off in one direction with the technology that they were researching, and the Navy went off in the other direction. And then we're also going to be discussing heavily how the corporate influence has really surrounded the secret space program, and how a lot of these projects in corporations has really what's allowed them to be built out, because being in corporate contractors, they're shrouded in secrecy, and there's a huge story to be told about how these projects have been kept secret, what they have, and then what they've built out over the past few decades. So this book, this first book, The Case for a Secret Space Program, is really going to deal with the origins of it all in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and then in next works, we're going to be getting into how it all was built out into recent times. So I'm very excited to be presenting you guys all of these awesome people that are going to be working on this awesome project, Case for a Secret Space Program. This book will be releasing in a couple months. Don't worry, there's going to be an ebook for it as well. So all of you guys who can't get a physical copy, you can get an electronic copy. And I'll keep informing you on it, right? I'll keep discussing this project with you guys and keeping you up to date on what's going on. I was just in San Diego last week meeting with all these gentlemen, and hopefully I'll meet with them again soon and bring to you guys a lot of updates as to what's happening. So thank you all. I'm excited for this. I hope you are too. Have a great day, everybody.